Hey, squad, welcome back to the RMR Training Podcast, or if it's the first time, welcome, period. We appreciate you. So in today's episode, we have the full squad, Meg Jacoby, Ryan Kent, myself, talking all about how to continue to make improvement after a good race. A lot of times we talk about like how to fix issues, how to improve on your weaknesses. But what if it goes well? What are the things that you need to do to continue to make progress? What are some traps to avoid that we ourselves have fallen in many times? And how to kind of create a race strategy from your previous race to help you make marginal gains and what kind of gains you can expect. So, really fun episode here. I think you'll enjoy it very much. I do want to start off by saying thank you to the community as a whole. Broadly, I felt a lot of love this past week based off my performance in Phoenix. A lot of people excited about that, and just a lot of sympathy, empathy coming my way from the frustrations that I felt with the judging. It's affirming, that it feels like there was some sort of mistake made on their end, and that a lot of people recognize that. So there's a lot of like negativity that was floating around for me in my own brain this past week or since race day, which has been a bummer, right? Because it was a kind of a negative thing. And so like it kind of filled me with negativity toward what actually happened. But what actually came out of it was a lot of positivity from the community, a lot of love that I felt, and really just made me understand like what we're doing here is bigger than results. I talk about it all the time, and I do believe that, like feeling that like, hey, we're doing this because it makes us better. It helps aspects all across life. It's connecting us. It's connecting us to people that we wouldn't have opportunities to connect with if not for this event, right? And ultimately, life is better with HYROX. It just is. There's a lot to be grateful for here. Judging notwithstanding, that is a small piece of the bigger pie here when it comes to all of the benefits that we are feeling and receiving. So I just wanted to say thank you for those of you who are listening, who are putting in the grind, who are reaching out and showing love, who are supportive during the events, and who are going out there and just, kicking butt every day in training and also on race day. This is really a very unexpected byproduct for this HYROX thing. When you're in it, to just think it's like, hey, is this competition? No, really, it's community building. It's bonding. It's more than that. So thank you for the reminder of what we're actually doing here and all the positivity that came through. So let's get into the podcast. All right. Hello, RMR Training Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan. Joined today, full squad stateside. We're excited. Meg Jacoby showing off her childhood posters in Binghamton, New York.
In the bedroom. It's purple in the bedroom.
It looks nice. I like that hue of purple.
Thanks.
Ryan Kent, what's happening, dude? How are you?
Out here, we're good. Doing well.
Feeling great. All right. I'm excited the full squad's here. So today we're going to be talking about, I feel like we're just kind of kicking around some ideas of what we want to talk about. And it feels like a lot of the times we are talking about what to do when something needs to be fixed. But today we're going to kind of talk about what to do, how to kind of change goals, training, mental, the whole side when things are going well, right? Because ideally we will all have races where we come out and we're like, nice, like that went as planned. And I'm finding myself in this place now, and it's been a little bit harder for me to like have a clear direction. Because like one, it's like, oh, okay, I can go back and just do what worked. But two, I also want to continue to make progress. When there's like a hole, it's like, okay, I need to fill this hole. And now it's kind of like, how do we continue to make this kind of work? So I wanted to ask you guys what you what you thought your best performance was in HYROX. One performance. I have some ideas for you. I've thought about it.
Oh.
And then what your mindset was like in like the days and weeks directly after.
That's interesting. Well, I mean, I guess mine is Stuttgart this year.
Best ever.
PB, best race ever. The interesting for me interesting thing for me after that was that I was also getting ready to do a half marathon in between Stuttgart and Madrid. So I obviously didn't do a ton of like specific training prior to Stuttgart for the half because obviously the HYROX was my focus. Then I knew like, okay, I have a really good time, 58. I just need like another one. So then I did for a couple weeks in between, kind of did one workout a week that would be kind of more specific to like a half marathon session. And they were long and real grindy. I texted Rich a couple that I had done where it was like one of them was 52 minutes of threshold and then sub threshold continuous, zero rest. So it was like threshold for 4 or 5 minutes,
How
sub
long was
threshold
this
4 minutes, and it was
after
9 rounds.
Stuttgart?
Yeah.
Wait,
So
how
like
long after Stuttgart?
the next week. I only had 4 weeks
4 days,
between
4 days, 5 days, maybe.
yeah, I basically had 5 weeks between Stuttgart and Madrid. Four. It was Halloween and yeah, it was Halloween and Thanksgiving. So I'm just like rolling on these holidays. And I had a half in between that. So 2 weeks after Stuttgart, I had a half. And then 2 weeks after the half, I had Madrid. So I kind of like just added a big, long, one grindy session to just like give me a little bit of half marathon prep. I mean, it's kind of late at that point, but just to also build the confidence for it, like, oh, okay, I can sustain this pace for an hour. So like I just got to grit my teeth a little bit to get, the next 17, 18 minutes, hopefully. And it worked really well. And then I felt like my fitness was really strong in the running, like going into Madrid. I just felt really confident because the pace I would hold for a half is like my ideal HYROX pace at this point. Um, so that was really all I changed. And then like my second harder session of the week was something a little more intense. So kind of shifting the gear from what I had done prior to my first HYROX race and just like upping the ante a little bit there. Um, and that was kind of like all I really had to change. So I think you could either go, depending on what you feel like you need, either more into volume or more into intensity. And I think it's probably going to be one or the other.
So hold on. You would say your Stuttgart race is a better performance than your world championship? Or like the
Well,
time you set the world record?
it was the fastest time though that I've ever
But
done.
not it was, but that's how you felt.
Okay.
You came out of Stuttgart like, nice, I did it.
Yeah.
More than
Okay.
like
So
worlds?
obviously, well, at World Championships, I'm going to be real. This is me completely removing my ego. I was not the best athlete at the time, but I was the best on the day. I was not the best. I was not the favorite to win that. I was the best on the day because my raw strength is so strong that getting hit with heavy sleds does not deter me the way it deters others
Mm.
in this game. And that's always the trade you're going to make depending on which way you're leaning in your training. We want it to be as good
For sure.
on both ends as possible, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. For me, it did on that day, and I think I'm one of those athletes in a good position on both sides. That's why I'm successful, because like I am strong enough to handle no matter the situation I get on that day and still come out the other side with a really good time, and it doesn't impact me as much as it might other athletes. So like for me, I think coming off of a back surgery and so much back and forth with the running side, the strength was never my problem. The strength comes back for me really quick. The running was what obviously took a lot longer to build. So for me, like kind of going more in that direction and then working up my volume was something I really needed to spend the time doing based on, my circumstances.
Gotcha. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
And
That makes sense the post surgery of it.
the
Kind of like
post
the big
surgery,
comeback and the whole
yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
So the things that you kind of touched on were kind of making that split volume versus intensity. Let's
Yeah.
let's dive into that in a bit, but let's hear from Kent. What do you when you think
What's
about
my
something
race?
like
What
this?
race are you thinking of?
I have two.
I think I know which ones.
Both
Probably
in Chicago.
Yeah. So either the one when I beat Hunter or the
Yep.
one when I beat Rylan.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there's two camps here, right? And Meg described one camp, which is basically dive right back into training, like right after a great race. I think there's also the other camp that, they hit their goal and then they basically just think that they've won and they've done everything they want to accomplish. And now they just kind of sit around for a couple weeks and don't do anything.
The fire's not
So-
as it's not as hot.
Yeah. And
Cools
I'll be
down.
honest, I definitely fall more in the MJ camp in terms of like, regarding those two races. I don't even think I enjoyed them because I was already focused on the next thing, and that's one thing I try to do now. And I try to give advice to other athletes is like, hey man, like when you pop a good one, take it from me, give yourself some time to enjoy that because it's not guaranteed to happen again.
Mhm.
I've learned that lesson over the last 2 years. So I think the biggest thing coming out of a race where you perform really, really well is feeling like you need to prove it to yourself in training that that wasn't like a fluke.
Mm.
And you either like do another hard workout before you have actually recovered from that race, or you just start like you're not executing workouts the way that like you were maybe executing workouts going into that race. Now you're starting to like press in the workouts to like prove that like I am that guy or that girl that just ran that race. And like that is a slippery slope to get into.
Meg, do you
terms
feel
of, like-
that? Have you felt that before? Like what Ken's saying in terms of like needing to? Because I feel this right now. Ken, I did the same thing. I was like, what if I can't do that again? Like, do I need like? And I'm like, I think I can, but like, do I need to kind of prove that? Like, Meg, have you felt that same kind of thing?
Not lately, but definitely in the past. Definitely in the past. Lately, I've been very focused on execution. So like the part that Ken's talking about where you feel like you have to come back and prove it and then you're pushing too hard. That's not a thing for me because my paces are written down on paper and I hit them, period. Every time. So like I don't press myself. If this is the pace, this is the pace. That's
Mm.
it. So I've like, and that's how I've had to approach a lot of this. Again, and going through the back stuff is a big part of why I've become this dialed in as an athlete, because I can't take those chances or those risks. Right. So like this is the pace I have to hit. This is the pace I have to hit. Because I wasn't in a position where like pushing could have been detrimental, right? Like repeatedly too hard, too early, too soon could set me back. So I got really, really dialed in the process of it, and like I don't allow myself, I don't allow that like ego side to overcome me. This is definitely something I've worked on. I 3 years ago, totally different ball game. But that's also why I feel like I had so much success right away again, because I got so nitty gritty on the process for myself, and trying to remove as much ego in that process as possible. Right. And then again, it comes back to now I know what to expect. I know how I should feel after these sessions. And it just set me up for really good training because I was not overworking and then feeling shitty for on it. Then the next session wasn't getting impact. Like everything was kind of as it should be. And then once you pop a great race, I think then now it's like, okay, that worked. Now we can up the ante a little bit, and you have proved to yourself that you've proven it. And then you can kind of go back and, like I said, you can up the ante in either your intensity, so pushing your paces a little harder than you had, or in your overall volume. Maybe you go longer durations, longer than you have done. So you can kind of decide which you need based on that performance. And that would be how I would change my training going forward.
I think a good race, it's like Rich, obviously you'd be feeling super confident like after Phoenix, but like that's not permission to all of a sudden start doing like a whole lot more work,
Right.
you know? And something clearly worked for you. And I think, and I'm using you as an example, but like your job now is like to protect whatever worked, not like immediately try to like upgrade what you were doing,
Yeah,
you know?
I
So
agree.
And that's what ends up being like how I'm feeling right now around it, because there's always been like a clear hole. It's like, okay, like just kind of keep these principles and like fill it in and like try to get stronger, faster, or whatever. And now it's like, okay, like I worry that just doing the exact same thing will just kind of get like the exact same or like worse results, like there might be a plateau. So it's like, okay, do we have to iterate this? But it's kind of like what Meg was saying. It's like the tweaks have to be subtle,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like, okay, like what is it, where from the race results that I got, like what from the training can I point to, and where can I like either like double down, not even double down, what's like the fractionalize just like a little bit more around that. So yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking right now, but it's like a little
I would
confusing.
go back, honestly, I would go back and do workouts that at least in the short term right now, I would do workouts that are more aimed at like raising your floor than raising your ceiling, probably for the next, maybe even like until you go race again in
DC?
Vegas.
Well, that's only like
Vegas.
a week. It's very soon.
Right, but like I wouldn't
Nothing
even try to like do anything major between then. You're like your fitness isn't going to go anywhere.
It feels a little tricky. Is yes, you're right. Like, but also there's been a taper and now recovery week. So like the amount of training I've done, like in this, and two big efforts, right? So like adaptations definitely come from the race day, but like it's hard to kind of get back into volume. Have you guys had problems with that, or have you just kind of like, because right now I'm like, oh, I remember this workout that I was doing and how much I was doing of it, but it was like over 2 weeks ago. So now I'm like, do I pop back into that? Or how do you guys, and I think like this is the concept of a reverse taper when people say that, where it's like you just slowly build back into the volume where you were. Do you guys have a process for that? Like, how do you get back? Do you just jump back into it and like it's fine? Or do you slowly kind of get there? Meg, do you have like an idea how you do that?
Well, I'm thinking like, yes, I definitely jump back in, and I don't know if it's fine because here we are. So
Good point.
it might not have been fine. No, I'm just kidding. I think here's the thing, and the one thing that you said kind of triggered my brain a little bit. Why do you feel like you have to move the needle again?
Isn't
You
that what
just did a PB.
but
So
isn't that what we're doing?
but
It's
consistency
always
doing it again is also improvement, because you've never done that before.
true.
So now you have to do it again and then again and then again, and that is also progress.
For sure.
So like I don't know that you have to change much
Mm-hmm.
or really anything.
You
Like
could
I
go run the
said,
same race again and not have what happened on the wall balls and still
and
finish,
you've already
finish better.
better.
Right.
Without really changing anything, just circumstances. And I think so that's like a really big point that I make to our clients and my clients. With you're going to go to Vegas, it's a different course. You guys also didn't run on the Elite 15 course in Phoenix. Also a different course. So like just being able to pull off a similar time or a similar race is still progressing in the correct direction. You know what I mean? So like I don't think we have to constantly go to our training and change up a lot. I think it's minuscule at most. Because the results being consistent is super hard to do. It's really hard to do because like we said, we are getting variation period already. So it's never going to be the exact same setup, the same course, the same situation. So if you're within 20 to 30 seconds consistently of all of your times, you are trending up. And so I think you can do a lot without changing very much.
That's an interesting point to kind of consider, right? Like the repeatability, if you are not someone who is repeating the results over and over, is also a way of showing progress, because that is part of the
Exactly.
sport, like being able to do it and be dialed in with yourself and your planning and your training and just like knowing what then I guess it can kind of prove that like the outcome is a little bit more predictable to you. Like if you do all these
Yeah.
things, like you should be able to get this result as because sometimes I feel like, and in the past I felt this way. It's like going to HYROX, like I hope this goes well. You
Yeah.
know, like I hope
Yeah.
I feel okay at burpee broad jumps. I hope I feel okay at lunges. Where if like it's consistent, then yeah, like you can kind of play around with race planning a little bit down the road to make those like iterative changes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think that the biggest danger in any training is trying to change too many things at one time. I think that is the biggest risk. So if you have been doing if you're doing certain things that have gotten you the results you were looking for, and now we want to all of a sudden get to the next level, why change a lot of what we just did that already got us here? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a gamble. And I think in any endurance event, I mean, we look at the best runners in the world. How often are they PRing? Like once a season, a
Maybe.
year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like for us to it's hard to wrap your brain around, but to continuously PR is not it's not realistic. It's
Yeah.
just not. And then, like we said, I mean, they're changing the whole system for this reason, right? So,
Mhm.
consistency in the sport, consistency in your execution, consistency in your times, even though it's people are like, oh, it's about points now. Well, it's still about time because there's a clock at the end of the thing. It's always going to be
For
about
sure.
time in some way, whether it's points or not. Our brains are working on time. So if I'm not running 58, I'm going to be fucking pissed. It doesn't matter if I got 105 points or whatever. You know what I mean? I want those times. So as long as you can show that consistency, I think like that's the goal. And then if you pop one really great one or a couple, like that's like the goal, you know, because it's so much harder to do than we give it credit for. And especially at this level, you just made a big level up. So like if you can just stay right where you're at, that's huge.
The go ahead, Kent.
I was just gonna say volume to me that week after. I wouldn't even worry about doing a quality workout until my easy aerobic volume is back where it was at
Hmm.
prior to like the taper. So you might do the reverse taper where you take the rest day, and then that second day maybe you do like a half hour. Then that third day it's like 45 to 60 minutes, and then the third day or fourth day after you're back to like 75 minutes, 80 minutes. And now it's like, okay, like we're back now. Now we can start maybe implementing, some intensity back into the program. But I always focus on getting my easy volume back up to like where it was at before trying to like squeeze in a workout post race.
Yeah, that's smart. It's a good rule of thumb to kind of work off of, right? Because we are with the taper, like volume is just lower, so we're a little bit more at risk to come back and sustain some kind of injury. I feel like that probably happens.
And your aerobic
No,
fitness has probably dropped
it could
a
probably
little
drop.
bit,
Yeah. So being
you
able
know?
to just kind of getting some maintenance in and just making sure that like physically you feel okay before you take it to that place where you could potentially go. Could be too soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely too soon. The science shows it. I see a lot of athletes risking injury very, very quick with maybe too quick a turnaround back into intensity after a lot of intensity, especially if you're doubling up in one weekend. You got to take 4 to 5 days. If you want to play this the long game, I'm just saying,
Mhm.
don't take it from me. Don't take it from me.
The
Chill out, everyone. You're going to hurt yourself, relax.
this has to be the most dangerous time too, like
The
post
most dangerous in your
or
central nervous system. It's no matter if you don't feel sore, that's not a sign you're ready. I think people think that
1000%.
that's the sign. It's like, oh, I'm not even sore. It's like, that's not it. There's a lot of systems at play here that we need to take into consideration. And I think Kent's rule is a great rule. It tends to, I think, be easier for us at our level because we are sustaining a lot more volume than regular people, right? So like by day 3, I'm usually back to kind of the normal easy hours I would be. Um, but that doesn't necessarily mean I feel like I'm ready to go hit a hard one, even if I feel good and even if my volume's back. So I think
Right.
I think playing and then with this, new system and potentially people having to race more, I think that's going to be a really big factor is strategy on how to recover, how to taper, how to post taper, how to recover properly. I don't think people are going to be able to put in as big of blocks. Obviously, that's what they don't want, kind of, it seems. So being strategic on your race planning so you are not risking a lot. I think that's going to be a big thing people need to take into consideration. I mean, I certainly have to. So
There, that's a great point. I wonder, it's just an aside, I don't want to get stuck on this point, but I wonder if there's going to be a correlation of injured athletes with this new
It
system.
could happen.
I could definitely see it.
Yeah, I would probably bet on it, even if it's a little bit. I'm not going to keep track of it. There's probably an Anthony Parasini tracking metric.
There's definitely some account that will track that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Some account out there.
On like the nervous system side of things, this is something that's like harder to be like. I think there are some tests. What do they say? Like a grip test or like a standing vertical jump. There's some ways to kind of like see how like while you're like firing to the very ends of like your nervous system, right? But I haven't really used that. I don't really know anybody who uses that, and it's hard to kind of know when you're going to be ready from that perspective. I've kind of experienced a little bit of like, and I definitely have done this in the past, kind of like a post-race letdown, like kind of like just like I don't feel very good, even though like the weekend was amazing, the results were amazing. I just like don't feel good, And I think that's kind of those an indicator is like, okay, I might not be ready. Is it something that you guys have also kind of like come across? Does that sound familiar?
Definitely. And it's interesting you say that because I remember, back in the days when I had a real job and I would come back to work on Monday morning and I'd be like, damn, this is so depressing. I'd be so depressed. And this was early in my career. So like I was lights out like every time I raced, right? So like everyone was a PB or something. And then on Monday morning I'm at work and I'm like, God damn, that like immediate drop. And it was definitely a bit demoralizing. You're on that high, that adrenaline, those endorphins from the weekend. And especially like Rich, you just had a lights out performance. So you're on cloud 9. Then you come home and you're just Rich Ryan again.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Just wake up in the same bed. Like,
Just here we are, another day.
Right?
And I think that's really important to pay attention to as well. Let yourself get back to feeling excited to train. You know what I mean? And that's going to be individual, right? For different people for different reasons. Some people are raring to go again right after, feeling motivated, and some people are like, I need a week. And I think you have to learn yourself and what works for you. But I definitely think you should listen to yourself. So if you're not feeling it, take an extra day.
Yeah, like recognizing when
Go
you're
do
not
something
feeling it.
you enjoy.
Yeah.
Go like for me, it was always like I'm gonna just go do a lift and just have a little bro out session.
That's
And
my
that would
favorite
just
thing to
make
do
me feel
after a
good.
race.
Exactly. It's like
Just
get off the wheel.
Helps with recovery too, and
doing something a little different, something you don't normally always do, that's not so specific to your sport. Just go do that. Like if it means hopping in a class, do it. If it means going to yoga, do it. Like whatever. And then get back on the train when you're feeling. I think you resent it when it feels forced. And so I think that's something that people should also kind of keep in mind with all of this.
Kent, do you get this post race blues, or are you just like fueled? Are you fueled on confidence after?
For sure. No. I
Just
definitely
thumping your
get it.
chest, like,
I definitely get it. But for me, the best way to navigate that is to get back into like a routine rather than like, even if I kind of don't feel like working out, I'll go work out and I usually feel better afterwards. And that kind of like kickstarts the process again for me. So I might fight against those feelings and not listen to them and just go train anyway. Not super hard. I might lift like Meg was saying. But then I'm like, okay, like, all right, first session out of the way. You know, we're back into some sort of routine. And then, I don't know, you start shifting out of that depression mindset and start shifting more towards like, all right, like let's get back into the process of all this again. I felt that grip strength thing this weekend.
Did
I'd
you?
never heard of that before. So like obviously I did doubles with Colin and then came back like an hour and a half later and ran solo just for like a workout. I honestly don't even think my heart rate at any point got above like 150. I couldn't even
Just couldn't
push.
happen.
But I got to farmer's carry, right? And coming into farmer carry, my heart rate was legit like borderline zone 2, zone 3, and I could barely hold those. After like 100 meters, I wanted to drop them, but my heart rate wasn't high. Like nothing was wrong, you know. In doubles, I only carried it for 100 meters. Like,
Right.
what's the reason? And it was because I literally pushed myself to the limit 90 minutes before, and my
Just
central
fried.
nervous system was completely fried, and I had no grip strength whatsoever.
That
So I found that interesting.
Yeah, like this happens a lot. Like if people are like, that's not really a strength or endurance strength. You should probably push the sleds too hard, and you get to the farmers, you're just like, yeah, you're just fried. Just add a juice, fatigue all the way to your fingertips.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do about it. It's something I had something, but now I lost it. I guess let's talk about the intensity versus volume, right? Because we talked about that some in terms of, okay, now we're feeling good. We're doing the routine of it. One thing, yeah, I feel like I will get out of the routine because of the taper, and then like my everything kind of changes. Race week, everything changes, and 2 weeks is long enough to kind of like forget where I was. You know, like coming into races, like maybe like 2 to 4 weeks before, I try to do a little bit more like mindfulness stuff just to keep myself calm, mostly for like sleep. If I can calm myself down in the middle of the night, but at the beginning of the night, like it just helps me sleep, honestly. And I just like completely lose that after a race weekend. I just like forget that I was doing the mindfulness thing, and then I'm just like kind of scrambled in my brain, and I'm like on social media all the time, you know, doing all these things that I like specifically like
Try not to
reduce.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just like back in a second. 'Cause I
Yeah.
just like forgot. So that's a really good call, Ken. It's like, what's the routine? What makes you feel good? Like, what are the things that like you want to do, or like what you were doing before? Like trying to keep that top of mind. Okay, so now we're through it. We got through the hard week, right? Because that is the kind of like this trap. It's like, okay, I want to come back at it, hit it hard, but we're not ready, so we give ourselves time. But now it is time to kind of start training. Like, Meg, when it's time to like, okay, you're feeling ready, feeling good. Like, you mentioned what you did in Stuttgart.
Stuttgart.
How do you say that?
Stuttgart.
How would you pronounce that, Kent?
Stuttgart. Nice.
And so you mentioned that, and like kind of looking at it like, okay, now what do we have to do? Like, what was that process like of being iterative or kind of trusting yourself to kind of stay the route that you wanted to go? Yeah, when would you decide to go volume versus intensity, I guess?
I guess also depends on what you're like, how far out you are too, right? So, like I said, I had only a couple weeks in between, but like enough time to obviously kind of like increase something.
Yeah, I think that's just real quick. I think it's fair to operate in that mindset because, like, say, like in North America, you raced
Exactly.
Boston, and then you have like 6 weeks until Chicago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So it is going to kind of be in that like tighter window,
but still a few weeks where you can make like real gains, real progress. The thing about like some of these other races like Chicago to Dallas where it's like 2 weeks or one, I wouldn't change anything. You know what I mean? I would really focus on just recovery and not trying to change anything because it's not actually going to impact anything. So like the best thing to do would probably just be like stay on the train you've been on, and then once you're through those couple races, if they're so close together, then make an adjustment. But with a few weeks in between, it was like, okay, this worked really well for me. So now we can push that a little bit more. And that was for me, like the volume of running. Of course, like I said, it was a long build up. and I got the pacing where I wanted it to be. So now it was like, okay, I just want to add time here. And then of course, like I said, I had the half. So that was also kind of part of the reasoning. And it really worked really well, because Madrid, I would say, was not a favorable course at all. It was actually quite slow, seemingly. But again, my times were very comparable. So obviously what I had done was right, and was right for me at the time. So I think when you have a 6 week thing, if you need to change something, that's enough time. But if you're like 2, 3 weeks and it's like a real quick, then I think stick with what you've been doing. Dial in 1 or 2 things. If it's like a station, something that went really bad, it might not even make a difference in your fitness for that station, but maybe more of the mental side, feeling a little more confident the next time, like on a wall ball or something, if it went real bad. And then, maybe those 2, 3 weeks, you put a little emphasis on that. It might not really move the needle fitness wise, but for your brain, it can. And then that can make a huge difference come race day. So I think a lot of it kind of comes down to like, how much time do you actually have? Which is tough, right? Because it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah, Kent, when we're talking about this, like expectations for improvement within like this certain window, and I know we talked about it a little bit, the consistency is kind of like the goal, right? But if someone was like, yeah, what are like, okay, I just ran a PR, like maybe they're newer at this, but then have a race in like 4 to 6 weeks. And then if they start thinking, right, it's like, man, I just took 5 minutes off. Maybe I'll take another 5 minutes off.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I could just do this until I run 51. But what kind of expectations do you think are reasonable within, yeah, like this scenario? If you run a race and another race in like 4 to 6 weeks.
I guess it just is this coming off of like a PR race,
Yeah,
obviously.
say they're like,
Yeah.
they just did the thing.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, we're back in the mix. We talk about the consistency thing.
I mean, I think if you can go back,
want,
if you can, just simply just replicate that performance again in 4 to 6 weeks, that would be, I think that would, you should feel really good about that.
Yeah.
Because again, like 4 to 6 weeks isn't like a ton of time, like Meg was saying, to like build a ton of like new fitness, right? But it does allow some time to shore up some weaknesses,
Yeah.
and some glaring things that maybe like sled pull or something, like you could
Like your technique or
right, like you can clean those things up in that amount of time.
technique, yes.
But you're not going to make any crazy like overall fitness changes in that amount of time.
So just as you're talking, I was thinking most likely if someone comes off a PR, the part that they would need to clean up is probably in the back half. Right? They probably survived the sled push. Okay. Usually if you get hammered by the sleds, it's probably not a great day. Maybe a PR because you just like are brand new. But like you probably get through the sleds okay. You manage burpee broad jumps, and then you have some juice, and then you can go. And then like you set this 3 to 7 minute PR or whatever. But the lunges and wall balls is probably where those spots could be like tightened up. If you were, Meg, if you were to be like, okay, you need to shore up your lunges, would you? And then you're looking at it from that volume or intensity part in these 4 weeks. Like, where do you think you would take them?
Probably more an intensity side. And I'd probably just keep the volume overall kind of the same and just put a little more unilateral focus on for a couple weeks. And then hope for the best. I think the biggest thing in those short of time spans is the execution. I think that's the biggest thing you can do to show any improvement is like execution. And sometimes the time doesn't even change, but the execution did. And you can feel that you like come out of it and you're like, oh, the time was basically the same. But I personally feel like I executed this, and this way better this time. And I think those are also always signs of like we're moving in the right direction. But yeah, it would probably be keeping the volume side the same because it worked well. And now we can just add a little extra intensity on this specific thing and then hope that, on the day that translates.
Yeah, I think the
It's very hard to say.
more exposure to like knowing what it's going to feel like
Exactly.
at that point in the race.
Yeah.
Multiple times is more important
and just
than
building that confidence.
Yeah.
Like
rather than, all right, like I'm going to add 200 lunges a week to my training or something like that might not go so well.
That's a roll of the dice. It might.
Yeah.
But you also might get injured.
Yeah, exactly.
That's okay. That was going to be my follow-up, right? Like, okay, in terms of intensity, we can think of it as speed during the lunges, like load for the lunges, but it sounds more like get familiar, like run hard into lunges. Do like some ski stuff. Do it toward the back half, like get yourself fatigued and get familiar with. And then what you mentioned on the execution, right? Like, when do you start to feel tired? Why are you feeling tired at that point? Is there a way that you can like pace yourself better or kind of change your positions to like have a bit more of a plan?
Exactly.
Interesting. So yeah.
Like, here's where I'm going to strategic break, and it's going to be dialed, not random, right? Not based on randomly how I'm feeling when I've already missed the opportunity to break when I should have, right? Like, it's like having a plan to execute. And I found that I have seen with stuff like that, simple fixes like that, I've had so many athletes make crazy gains just because their approach was more dialed in. Just like, okay, instead of trying to do 10 burpees super hard and then have to stand there for 15 seconds, I'm going to do what Meg said. I'm going to slow it all down and make it continuous. Now they cut 2 minutes off just because they didn't have to, they just slowed the whole thing down slightly to be able to get way more out of it. And then now they cut 2 minutes off their time from just that thing alone. Same with wall balls. Like, if you just have a strategy to execute, I think the worst case for people who struggle with wall balls is to have no plan. Don't go in without a plan, and don't go in doing your max rep set from practice for the first. That's a terrible plan. You know what I mean? Like,
unless you can get
strategy.
like 50 or more, I think. If
There's
your
always
max set is under 50, it's probably a bad idea. But if you can get like over 50, I think maybe.
I think you need to be able to hit 75 in practice before you even think about trying to do 50 on the day. In a row. That's just my thought process. Like, always go lower than you think.
There's always hope.
It's a whole different thing,
Like, I hope I got it this time. I'm gonna try.
But if you come up with a strategy and you implement that strategy in your training and you repeat, like, deciding a strategy for race day that you have never done in training is also not a good plan. So, like, do it over and over, like, every time. Do that plan, execute it in the race. If it goes great, then you can make a new plan, right? But like, I think people lose a lot of time because they don't have something concrete that they're going to follow, and that's when it kind of like easily gets away from you.
This is why I program some station work meant to be like zone 2, maybe like low end zone 3, to teach people how to pace themselves on the stations, because people tend to think, and I don't want to tangent for long on this, but like the pacing aspect of HYROX obviously matters for the run, right? And I think people get that for the most part. Like, you gotta manage your effort on the runs, especially the first one. Don't let the adrenaline and excitement, gas you out. But what they don't think about is how to execute that same thing on the stations. Maybe it's easier on the ski and the row because you have those metrics to look at, right? But like when you get on the push, no one's telling you when to stop. You have to make that decision on like when it makes sense in order for you to not fill your legs up with lactate. And
you don't know like what the power you're putting into, right? There's no metric for you to be like, I'm putting this much power into this, and that's beyond my. You're just kind of like, you're guessing.
And if you can figure that out, if you can nail that, there is, like Meg was saying, there's so much time to be gained if you can figure out your pacing when it comes to the stations, not just the running.
No, I
Yep.
think this is a great point. I've actually like just kind of started thinking about this for burpees and lunges. Just recently, I started to kind of like measure out what it would be like on the grid, and it's like, okay, if I do this many burpees, it takes me this long, like I can sustain it fairly well. And same with like lunges. Like I just started doing this, and I've been doing it for forever. People just come in and be like, I hope I crush this. Watch this, and then just like go hard and slow down. So like it seems so obvious, Kent, like you mentioned, like, and it is like, yes, running, pacing, that's what people are kind of like obsessed about. But yeah, like what does that look like for burpees, for lunges, for wall balls? That's a really great point.
I found for wall balls, and we're still, I don't know, we're on a side topic now,
We're
I
good.
guess, but
We're rolling.
I started doing this in training because, yeah, I would just go for broke every time on wall balls and go as many as I can get, and then, you know, try to take as little break as possible and pick it back up again. But I've been practicing in training, like how many can I comfortably get in a minute, and then pick it back up again at that minute mark. So for example, I know now, worst case scenario, I can do 25 wall balls every minute on the minute. That's 50 seconds of work roughly with 10 seconds of rest. I can do 25 wall balls.
It gets you under 4.
Yep. It gets you under 4. So you need to find what's a good amount of wall balls for you to do within a minute. It might be 15, right?
Yep.
30 seconds of work, 30 seconds of rest, or 35 seconds of work, 25 seconds of rest. You need to be practicing this in training so that when you get into the race, have a watch, right? Like, and come in and start your little split thing on your watch and keep yourself accountable when you're on that station. Don't just mindlessly go through the wall balls, like, and just hope for the best, you know? Like have your timer going. Do your 20 wall balls. That gives you 20 seconds of rest, right? And when that 20 seconds is up, go for another 20. I've just found that to be really helpful rather than just blindly going in there. And, you know, because look, I would love to come into wall balls and be like, I'm feeling great. I think I've got 60 or 70 in me right now.
Here comes 100. Watch.
But like, there might be times when you're coming in and your heart rate spiked and you're freaking surviving. Okay, what are you going to do then? All right, now I need to go. I need to go to this EMOM technique, right? That's going to help me get through this a little bit better.
Yeah.
I wish, shouts to Coach Hannah Taylor, RMR, and in small group. She actually does that EMOM 25 strategy, and we call it the Wally Wop. I don't know why. Long story. Wally Wop. I should have pivoted to that at in Phoenix. I thought about that later. It's like, damn, I should have just pivoted to EMOM in the back 50. And like having that, and like we were saying, like having these strategies in reserve and like being able to practice them, but I just like forgot about it in that moment. But
well, I can't
there's a lot going on.
There's
a lot in your mind.
There's a lot going on, but there is a strategy there to do something like that, right?
Yep.
One thing that I find challenging that I found in my own training, right? If I do have a plan and it is an aggressive plan, like yes, it's all right, I am going to do 60, or opposite, if it's a shorter end one, it's like, all right, I'm going to do 25. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm just going to keep going. Like that's like two parts to this. Say in the longer one, if I'm like, I'm going to do 60 and then I do 40, then I'm like I blew up my brain. I'm like, well, that sucks. I'm toast. Even though it's like, you're fine. You could just pick it up and do 25 in the minute again and just be fine. Right. But it's like, man, I thought I was going to do 60. I failed. And then it just is like this mental battle just to get, then it's like you do 7, you do like 12, then there is no plan. So it's just something to keep in mind what I've found. And also on the other end, if you're like, oh, I'm going to do 25, then you're like, all right, screw it, I'm going to do 50, and you plan 25, but you just go past it like 30, like then you're in the same place. Like you're not executing your plan, and then it's just like mentally gone. So yeah, it's just something that like to consider in terms of planning. I like the EMOM thing. Meg, you've always done big sets, but is there anybody
the whole
like,
set
100?
Not always.
One time, my first time.
There was one time. she calls me after and is like, I'm so pissed I didn't get unbroken wall balls. Like the first thing she said. She ran this like amazing
I
time.
also had a penalty. I was way more
and
worried about the
you-
wall balls and
you were
not
like,
being
I can't
unbroken. I
believe
was
I
like,
didn't do unbroken.
I'm a pussy. I did 70, then dropped it and then did 30. So stupid.
Never happen again. Watch. Hasn't happened.
Only cost me 5 seconds, but whatever. So I have a number that I just get to that number because I know I won't put it down. Once I get to, I say 70 in my brain. Once I get to 70, I know I will not put it down. From 70, what I found is 70 to 90 usually kind of sucks. But then 90 to 100 is fine. Like there's like a threshold. It's weird. I know that sounds, and probably to people who have never done 100, they're like, fuck you. You know what I mean? For even saying that. But there's like this threshold where if you can get through it, it doesn't get worse, if that makes sense. It just stays the same feeling. But you have to fight through that mentally because it starts to suck. And you're like, oh, dang, like, and there's like 15, 20 reps that really hurt. But then the last 10, 15, I find it's not getting progressively worse. So like, I just have to pick that number in my brain, get to it, know these next 15 are going to be brutal. And then that's it. And then I'm done. It's over. And that's just kind of like the decision that I learned to make for myself. That's the number mentally I need to get to, and then I will not put it down. One thing one thing I'm trying to do, but I was trying to do, I want to get to the point where I'm coming in so gassed because I'm pushing myself so hard that I almost can't do it.
You can see where that line
I
is.
think my mentality is so insanely strong with this particular thing that I will never put it down no matter what. But I want to get to the point where I want to so bad because that's how I don't want to be slowing up subconsciously going into wall balls. So that's a strategy I'm trying to work on is like, I think it's kind of a natural subconscious thing. It's like the positions are usually pretty clear. I'm not really probably gaining anything. I'm not really losing anything usually. And I don't want to let off the gas. So my that's been an emphasis like I was personally trying to make, like, keep that freaking pedal down. And and Benny was like, I want you to come in there and be questioning that you can do 100 for like the first time in your life. And so that's like the point I'm trying to get to.
Doubles is
so we'll see.
I was going to mention
opportunity
those.
for that because you do have a bit of a parachute if things blow up, and you could just like absolutely send it and be like, let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
But that's brutal training to get there because you're gonna have to just do like as many like imams on the machines for like 18 cals on the Echo bike until you just like can't stand up anymore to get you to that point. That's VO2 max like brutal ass.
Or I've been doing more. So like I have to do like 125. You know what I mean? Like straight. Don't put that shit down, So like that was what I was kind of doing leading into it. It was like I was doing something real hard right into 120 wall balls and they had to be unbroken. And it was
funny.
like
It's like wall balls with 100 wall balls with a 20 wall ball buy-in.
Yeah, with a 20 wall ball buy-in. Yeah.
That's good.
Exactly.
I'm sure there's a certain level of fitness that you need to have in order for this to happen. But I actually find in doubles, for example, like you're freaking hauling ass on that last run. Like that's, to me, that feels one of like the most aggressive runs of the whole race. But I find that your heart rate actually comes down after you get through about 10 to 12 wall ball reps. Like your body starts to, okay.
You get in the rhythm.
Yeah.
You're like,
and
okay, I'm rhythm. The breathing becomes the rhythm.
Yeah.
My respiration comes down. My heart rate does go up for wall balls, but my respiration comes down from like, 0 to like probably like 40. Like 50 is probably where I start to like lose control a little bit there. That's how it feels for me.
Yeah. I guess all I'm trying to say is don't be scared to like pick it up with a high heart rate. Like the first couple are gonna suck, but
it's your kick. It's your finishing kick.
Yeah.
Right? It's not supposed to feel great.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to feel great. That's an interesting like feeling that you mentioned, Meg, of like, yes, this point where you think you can stop, or you think you have to stop but you don't have to. I experience that on the row too. Sometimes with like glute, my butt will start like,
Yeah.
like I can't, and then you just can. It just
Yeah.
is uncomfortable. I get that shoulders. That's where I start to feel that like, oh, I can't do anymore because my shoulders are gonna blow up. And then like, I don't think I've ever failed because of shoulders, and
Right.
you know, it just feels bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was starting to feel bad for me too there at the end, because I've obviously shifted some training, and I was like, this is the
what
first time
mortals
ever my shoulders have been maybe the question mark. I was
stop doing
like,
belts.
yeah, I'm just not doing so much lateral side raises these days. So,
Wall balls are hard now.
yeah.
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 Okay, cool. I like that for wall ball. Anything else on the wall ball side of thing? Because that's like, yeah, that is. I don't know, I think we touched on that pretty well. Thoughts?
I do think there is a moment there on wall balls, like Meg was saying, that like if you are going for unbroken, there's a moment, at least, the times that I've done it. I remember in that workout when we were in Colorado at the track.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember that.
I was like, holy shit, I did it. And I know for me, it was somewhere in the 70s when I crossed that line and was like, all right, like it's been hurting for a little bit, but it's not getting any worse. And now I'm closer to the end than I am the beginning. And like you start building like momentum and confidence as you're doing them. And then next thing I know, I did 100. And I was like, and that was just before I went to Chicago. That was like 2 weeks before I went to Chicago and did that. And I remember leaving there. I was like, oh, it's fucking on. I was like, you guys don't tell nobody that I just did 100 unbroken in training.
I'm gonna have some
No,
fun.
guys listening, he really was like, don't you dare tell anybody I can do this.
I was hyped, dude.
Like, who do you think I'm texting right now?
I'm telling all your competitors.
The one thing that I did, it's like the kind of my mental trick for wall balls is visualizing myself on a track, and every 10 is 100 meters. So like at 70, it's only 300 meters, and I've been on the track so many times. Even at 60, you're like, oh, it's only a 400, because that's how I feel when running on a track. And the time's not that much different. 100 wall balls versus like a 1K. It's like close enough that it is like, okay, I'm at 800. Like
it's a long time to be doing wall balls.
But like with 20 left and it's like a 200, you can always do it. Like you finish. Like
I mean, it takes as long as like an 800 to a 1K total time.
That's what I mean. It's like about the same.
So that's kind of that's a cool trick. I found that when the announcers put pressure on me at like 60 to go unbroken, I'm like, oh well, fuck, I have to now. They just said it out loud. So
pressure fuels you.
Like this is good peer pressure,
Don't embarrass yourself.
Yeah, come on. Can't be letting the crowd down.
For sure.
So you break it up into meters. I'll break it up into time. So like I know, 25 reps, for example, is 50 seconds. So, if I am doing that EMOM thing, it's like, 25 reps is only 50 seconds of freaking work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, you can
however
do
it
this
makes
for 50
sense.
seconds.
Yeah, you can always do that. Or or if you're a rower or you're good at the skier, like you can always ski for 400 more if like push comes to shove for some or whatever. But yeah, I find that to be like pretty helpful, because it is like, all right, 300 meters, like I do that when it comes down to running, no matter how bad it feels. Like I will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I try to think of it the same way.
I mean, my mentality on the rower is like, I'm sitting down. Enjoy this. This is sitting. This is great.
For sure. So that's one thing too. Like the row, I was thinking about that. I was like, I need to shore that up a little bit, but it's also like
do I really?
Yeah. Like,
what were you
just
rowing?
Get in and out like a little quicker.
You had one of the slower row times, right?
Yeah, I had the slowest ski, and then I think my row was 13. It was like started at 148 and kind of goes. I was seeing like 151, 152. So it was like not fast, but I was feeling good and I was feeling positive. I was like kind of letting it go there.
Yeah.
I was like looking around and like no one's like killing me. And I was like, I think I'm running faster than these guys right now. I can get them later. And I did catch up to them. But like, ideally I'd want to just not lose time anywhere.
Right.
So like there might be like some little things to shore up, but like what the cost benefit is hard to figure out on the row and the ski in particular.
Yeah. Agreed with that for sure.
Yeah.
Should Should we put a bow
All
on this
right.
thing?
Yeah,
I gotta go.
I think we did the thing. MJ's got heart out. Appreciate you popping on. We'll be in Vegas. I'll be in Vegas. What do you got
DC?
next? DC.
Are you coming to DC? You're gonna race?
Oh, yeah, gotta,
Oh boy.
man. We're coming. It's gonna be a fun day. It's gonna be a fun race.
I think pretty much everyone's going.
You
You know,
think so?
like Dylan, Hunter.
It's a really cool
all the
opportunity
boys.
that and for everybody else, it's gonna be like kind of their first like major for a lot of athletes. So it's like a really cool thing. And it's like a thing for people to shoot for, to make this race. So
Mhm.
it's like gonna be like have like a level of prestige to it.
Yep.
MJ, we'll
I'm
see you around.
undecided.
We'll see you
No
someplace.
plans.
Just
No
hang
plans.
out, just going wherever the wind blows you.
You know what? I'm qualified for all of it, so
Go wherever you want.
might show up. We'll
Maybe,
see.
maybe not. Do your thing. Cool squad. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the support. And thanks for listening. And we'll talk to you soon.